right, how are you doing? He's hoping that all is well with you from wherever part of the world you are watching us. This is Youth Connect, a special edition, and we are coming to you live from home. We just said that we want to just try out this and we see how it goes. And so we want to apologize in advance in case we have some technical hitches here and there. But of course, we are trying to work around ensuring that our teams are able to deliver from wherever part they are. Now, tonight on the program, we are talking about one of the very important issues that actually propped up here in Kenya this week. Of course, it's a statement that was made by the CS Health, and of course, it is with regards to what is his clarion call to young people, especially here in Kenya. And he actually did say that we should actually be at the center of the fight against COVID-19, and that is the youth. And the question tonight we're asking ourselves, will the youth rise to the occasion? We'll be talking more about this on this particular program. All you need to do is tweet us and use the hashtag YouthConnect. We'll be able to read your tweets in the course of the program. My name, as always, is Eugene Nangwe. Now, of course, let me bring in our panelists on the program. We have Cynthia Nyamai, who's joining us by way of Skype, and she is the MD of Cynthia Nyamai Communications. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, we have Ambassador Kwame Opoku, who's an ECOWAS Youth Ambassador. He's also joining us all the way from Ghana. And Samantha Nyonsaba, who is with the Innovation Village all the way in Uganda. Back here in Kenya, we have Victor Mochere, who's actually a blogger and social media influencer. He'll definitely be able to be part of this particular conversation right here. Remember, if you want to be part of this show, just share with us your Skype ID. We'll be able to have you linked onto this conversation, and we'll be able to take it up from there. Let me start off with Cynthia. Cynthia, the key concern that most young people have, especially when it comes to participation in national issues, is that they are often left out, only to be called upon to be part of solution provision when mambo yameumana, or when it is tough. I mean, what is your thought on this particular issue?
I think that's the way life is. I think the last time we spoke, I had written an article talking about the saying that the youth need to push for their space. And at that time, Kenya was going through BI, and we had rallies, and I was pushing the youth and telling them that no election can be won without the youth, so they need to recognize the power that they have and make space for themselves. The same thing with even what is going on right now. One thing about making space or power is never given. You have to grab it and take it. And now more than ever, people are calling this disease COVID-19, I'm calling it the great equalizer, because now we can get into space that doesn't need permission. Like, for example, the businesses that are going to survive now are businesses that use IT. There has to be technology. The businesses that are going to survive now are businesses that are on digital. Look at what we are doing right now. This is the way businesses are going to go. And more than ever, I now have clients. People thought maybe we would shut down, but more than ever, I have clients calling, asking me to do simple things for them, open a Facebook page. People, an older generation that didn't want to embrace digital, now have to embrace it. So I think for a lot of young people, they should see this as an opportunity. And as I always say, never waste a crisis. This is a crisis that young people cannot waste.
Right. Before I go to the rest of the panelists, still with you, Cynthia, you say that this is an equalizer. COVID-19 is seen as an equalizer, but some will argue and say that it will actually draw more division, or, show us that we are not that equal, because if we're saying that those who will survive better are those who are actually incorporating social media or using digital platforms, then what happens to those young people who do not have access to this?
Well, for that these days, almost if you even look at just the research, you'll find that almost every young person from the age of 18 upwards has a phone and a smartphone. To add on to that, you find a lot of young people on Facebook. That alone is a platform. I'll give you an example. So right now we're working on a campaign against just to fight COVID-19 to bring Africa together. And all we're using is our phones. And I have from Uganda, I have youth from Nigeria, from South Africa, and all we're doing is spreading messages using our phone. Just last evening, the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Minister joined the campaign, and the best thing is, it was just over the phone. We didn't have to make protocol requests to the Foreign Affairs Ministry or to the government of Nigeria. It was simply over the phone. A lot of young people are on Facebook, and also like what I've been doing is every evening I hold a TV show. I didn't buy any space anywhere. All I did is I'm having my TV show on Instagram. Simply using simple tools that almost any young person or ask any young person, they're all on Facebook. That's a TV platform. And everyone right now is at home. In most countries, we are sitting at home. Those are opportunities. That's a viewer, anyone sitting at home. Those are viewers sitting at home. We can now sell our products. We have to be innovative, and as I said, power is never given, it is taken. So the young people have to find innovative ways, just the same way now as businesses will have to find innovative ways to survive.
Right, let me bring in Kwame here. Kwame, I would love to hear your thoughts as an ECOWAS ambassador, first of all, because, of course, we're trying to understand how do we collectively mobilize young people from across the region, or actually the continent for that matter, in fighting COVID-19. Because at the end of the day, young people are saying just the same way the other generations are disadvantaged in the fight against COVID-19, young people are also disadvantaged in a way or another. Of course, I want to read your thoughts on what you think should be the role of young people in this, flattening the curve of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and greetings from Accra, Ghana. I tend to want to lean towards agreeing with you to a certain degree when you said that if we're not careful, what COVID-19 will do will not make it will not be an equalizer. It would only really extend the wealth inequality gap we have, which is the Gini coefficient index. If you look at the Gini coefficient index, and I'm not trying to use big English or anything, it's basically the measure of inequality within any defined population. COVID-19 has given us a very, very great opportunity to look at how we've been going about things very wrongly as a continent. Now, I would make my appeal, or I would take this discourse right towards young people. I think that as a people, we are far more reactionary than proactive. And that's one of the biggest problems. And as much as I go with a school of thought that do not ever waste a crisis, and I'm glad that my first panelist spoke about that, this is a great opportunity for everybody, and I'll touch on that in a bit. As much as I am a very great believer in not wasting crisis, because I believe, of course, that with every tragedy comes with it a seed of opportunity, equal opportunity as well. The world's biggest problems are the world's biggest opportunities. If you look at solving problems, what I would say is we need to stop being reactionary. We need to stop seeing things happen and then try to fix it after they have happened. Let me give you a good example, Eugene. A lot of what we call health care in different parts of the world, and especially in Africa, is not actually health care, it's sick care. When the Greeks actually established healthcare, the healthcare system that we're supposed to have and we're supposed to be utilizing, it was supposed to take care of you, take care of your feeding, take care of your upkeep, your fitness, your persona, the good and wellness of your soul, so that you don't even get sick to have to even take medicine. So hospitals and the likes were not necessarily created to cure diseases. If you look at it historically and you try to understand the beginning of medicine and how it sort of it grew up and the trajectory with which it grew, the real use of hospitals was to give people advice so that they take care of their health care, and they don't even need to get sick. But look at what happened. We eat junk food, we do a lot of trashy things. Our body then becomes diseased. We run to the hospital and we try and go and solve. And if we don't move away from being reactionary to becoming proactive, and now let me draw it to it. What have young people been doing, and how have we been involved in everything until COVID-19? Why is it that all of a sudden there's a call for young people to get involved in it? We should have been involved in economic decisions. You should have consulted us in drawing budgets, in knowing what we are going to leave. The next 50 years would have us in the conversation. It might not necessarily have some of our leaders. So why are major decisions being taken without us? And then when we get into crisis, they say, oh, young people, jump into it. And now I want to speak to young people. And I love what Cynthia said. Power is never, ever given. We need to stop complaining. We need to stop being lackadaisical. And we need to get involved and understand that our future, the future of the nation we will grow up in, the future of the nation our kids will grow up in, some of us will see our grandchildren, the future of that Africa, that nation is really at risk. And people are making decisions on our behalf that would affect us in their absence. And so we need to get involved. And with the real conversation about COVID-19 and what young people can do, I'm sure as the conversation comes up, I'll be able to chip in. But for once, the world has woken up to the need for a digital conversation, for the need to embracing young people and their quote-unquote crazy ideas about how we can solve problems using technologies, using digital platforms, and creating economic, commercial value using these platforms. So that would be my first take on the subject.
Right. Perfect. Let me bring in Samantha. Samantha, you're in Uganda. And of course, the lockdown is continuing to actually take its effects, either positively and sometimes negatively for some in Uganda. But from what Kwame has said, and Cynthia that actually mentioned earlier on that, power is never given to us, authority is never given to us on a silver platter. Kwame says we need not to be reactionary. We need to have already asked ourselves, what were the youth doing even before COVID-19 came? Why is it that it is now that we're talking about involving or having the youth play a major role in this COVID-19? Talk to me about how the youth of Uganda are feeling when it comes to their involvement in national issues, leave alone COVID-19 today.
Yes, thank you, Eugene. So this is really interesting because the youth have always been engaged, right? And so now when there's a sudden call and responsibility that is greatly shifted to the youth, the responsibility is on all age groups, including the youth. So yes, the youth have an upper hand because we are the majority, and the unemployment burden has driven innovation and creativity. However, the real power still lies in the older demographic.
Yes.
And these are the people required to push these innovations. So clearly everyone still has a role to play. So as Kwame and Cynthia stated, there are different technologies out there that enabling productivity, communication, supply chain and distribution to tackle these current challenges that we're facing. However, still with the outcry that youth, please come, it's your responsibility to solve them. We're still seeing partners shy away from actually supporting and growing and scaling these solutions that can actually help navigate the challenges that we're currently facing.
But then again, I mean, while you're still on it, I think what we'd love to understand is that why do we feel that young people would feel agitated when they are called upon to be, to play a major role in such a crisis like now? Do you think that their concern of actually not having been involved in the beginning holds any water?
Yes, it does in a way, because it doesn't even necessarily have to be that they were
Okay.
brought to the table to discuss certain issues. It can go down to the small things that how are these leaders mentoring these innovations that the youth do? How are they providing support? And support doesn't necessarily always have to be money, but before COVID hit us, innovations are looking for partners, for organizations, for leaders to support them, but there's not much support that's being done. And then when there's a crisis, it's trying to get them to come. So it's not necessarily about having them on the table to discuss, budgets and whatever, but even down to the small things like mentoring, like, I think that's where the real frustration lies.
Right. I don't know if Victor is back with us. Earlier on, I've been told that Kenya Power were not kind to him. I don't know if we have him back on. Is Victor back on? Victor, are you there with us? Because I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Right, Victor. So, I mean, you actually are among the Kenyans on Twitter who actually were very furious with CS Mutai's statement, calling on young people to actually be even more proactive in dealing with COVID-19. And I'll quote your tweet. You said that old men took everything from the youth. Health CS Mutahi Kagwe is now calling on the youth to volunteer. The same youth they made sure remained unemployed, chased away from their self-employment. It will end in tears. Why do you feel that the youth who feel agitated have, the right to actually feel the way they feel when they are called upon to take up this kind of responsibilities today?
Thank you, Eugene. My main concern was the youth in this country have always been segregated and also been neglected. Now, when we have a crisis, and these people, the whole people who have always been given an upper hand, kind of treasured also, kind of in terms of government employments, in terms of appointments, also in terms of tenders, all people have always been considered. Yeah. Now we have an issue the issue of this coronavirus that tends to make old people vulnerable. Now they have to jump in and take you come in the youth who have always don't have are not employed, the youth who are on self-employment, and you are telling them to leave what you're doing and come to volunteer. My issue and major concern of the young people was about that aspect of volunteering. You're telling a mama mboga, you're telling a border person to leave what they're doing, to come and volunteer. Then at the end of the day, how do you expect this person to pay for to bills, to kind of rent, kind of food and all that? Those expenses. How do you tell a person who's not employed, a person who does not who lives from hand to mouth, they hustle day in, day out just to put food on the table? You're telling this person, no, we need you to leave what you're doing, come and volunteer. That was the major concern for many of the young people. And also, you also take into consideration that these young people are leave alone unemployment or that. Now come in issues of drugs, talk issues of crime, talk about incitements they're used by politicians, talk about police brutality. Now you want these people who have always been a kind of sort of how can I term it? Stepping stone, for these older people. Now you want them to come and be the foot soldiers, to fight for the government that has been fighting for them. That was the major concern, and I think the CS was either making a joke of the youth or mocking us. Yeah.
All right, Cynthia, before we take a break, if you've had his sentiments over there, Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, let me, there's something that I see, and it's because since I run a business, there's something that I see a lot with young people. Number one, I have to say, nobody owes you anything. Even for me to get to where I was, it wasn't easy. And there is nobody who is ever going to tell you, here is a platform, do something, take up a leadership skill. And true leadership really comes out when there's a crisis like now. It is not time to play blame games. This is like COVID-19 is killing people. COVID-19 is going to kill and sweep away Africa. This is not time to talk about leaders didn't give us this there are many things my government has not given me. I've worked in different African governments. There are many things they have not given me. But because I am a leader, I have to come up with a solution. And that's why I went ahead, spent my own money, and I'm talking to different people from all over Africa, especially young people, and coming up with a campaign to prove to the older generation what young people can do. And I'm doing it trying to preach, let's wash our hands, let's stay home, because I do not want any African, my brother or sister, to die of COVID-19. This is not time for a pity party. This is a time to bring out the leadership in us and the leaders in us and come up with real and quick solutions using what we have, our phones, our Facebook pages, and everything that we have been learning throughout the years and trying to tell our leaders to recognize.
Right. Right. Okay. I want us to take a very short break, and when we come back, we want to understand why should the burden of the fight against COVID-19 be heavier on the youth. Let's try to just make sense out of that when we come back from the break. Samantha, I see you want to jump in. I know Victor also wants to say something, and Kwame. But when we come back from the break, let us move this conversation forward and also bring in some tweets from those who are watching us. Skip it TV47, hashtag Youth Connect. If you're tweeting, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular conversation. Stay with us. we're back on air. Thank you so much for still watching us right here on TV 47. This is a special edition coming to you live from a place I call home. And of course, we are just trying to ensure that we reduce the interaction out there. So we are trying to just also to redefine work, so that we're able to see how maybe we do not really need to be in the office and in those studios to be able to deliver. But let me now bring our panelists in the show today. We are definitely discussing whether the youth will rise to the occasion, especially looking at the calls for them to really participate in the fight against COVID-19. Before I bring the panelists, let me just read some of the tweets that have been able to come through. One is from at Preacher Kid 254. He says, politicians always have a way of using us for their benefits. This time, the CS want to use us in a positive way. Let's just comply and do what's right. Allow me to bring in Samantha. Samantha, let me read your thoughts or your mind on this feeling that young people have consistently had, that governments usually, neglect them. There's the high rates of unemployment, and they feel like, why should we be part of this at the end of the day? But try to make us understand why it is important for young people to participate, especially in such efforts of rolling back the cases of COVID-19, and what exactly should they be able to do in the simplest form?
When it comes to, I'm going to speak in light of innovators, right, and entrepreneurs. Innovators and entrepreneurs have to fall in love with the problem. And once you fall in love with the problem, you're not looking at, why didn't the government do this for us? Why didn't the government do this? You're looking at what the problem is, and you're ensuring that you can be able to solve that problem with a solution, maybe in a business sense. So even with COVID, there are solutions out there. The Innovation Village rolled out a call for solutions to tackle 3 areas: productivity, communication to the last mile, and supply chain and distribution. We've seen over 47 solutions come in, some fully launched, others in prototype stage. These are innovators that are already doing something in the community. And yes, of course, there's a frustration of being let, being put on the table. However, once you fall in love with the problem, that is what pushes you to deliver. And again, which we cannot stress enough, is that even with innovation, there's a need for people in power. People in power have they leverage that power of distribution and scaling. So what these innovators need is, as leaders are saying, innovators should come and should provide solutions. That is okay. However, what are you also bringing to the table? How are you supporting them to be able to succeed?
Right. And Cynthia, maybe because you've actually worked with various, political leaders, various governments, as you mentioned earlier on, I want to read your mind, or to have you try to explain to us a bit more on why you believe that the burden of the fight against COVID-19 should actually, or is actually heavier on the youth, especially on our continent. Because going by what the CS actually did say, he said that, and I quote, "It is the youth that will suffer the most. It is you who will face your children with no job and a collapsed economy. It is you who will face your parents as you watch them get sickly, and there will be nothing you'll be able to do." Why is it that this burden should be heavier on young people?
Well, the thing is, the youth actually have the solutions to this problem. A good example is the way we have this interview right now. People are beginning to find out that that the youth have been right, that there are different ways of communicating, that we have a digital platform. And they have been, for us, a digital platform is what we do every single day. For the older generation, I've been telling my clients, let's Zoom. I have to install it for them. give them instructions. I have a few interviews for entrepreneurs from Monday to Friday, which I started because of the COVID-19, and we have it on Instagram because it's one of the few platforms that allow you to interview remotely live. And then I also, since I'm talking to an older generation for the interviews, for some of them I have to set up for them an Instagram page. So we really do have the solutions. I've talked about a campaign that we have that is bringing all youths in Africa together. It's called Africa Will Overcome. The most simplest way of doing it has been through social media. If government, for example, would have had to ask the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Minister who joined the campaign yesterday, they would have had to write lots of letters with lots of protocol. But because I was simply using a phone and technology, there are ways to break that protocol. And the youth really have the solutions. And so I think it's time for us to, and anytime you sit at the table, you have to show what value you're bringing. I think it's very important that instead of the youth complain, that they strategize how they will sit at the table and make sure it is a permanent sit at the table. That is the most important part. That eventually when you get your leg in, you just sometimes need one leg in, and then you will bring in the rest. But give long-term solutions. People are finding out that they don't have to sit physically next to each other. When you're making presentations now on communications, show them the long-term solution, why they still need you today and even after COVID. Let's not forget there's still going to be life even after COVID-19. So we have to give solutions that will last beyond COVID-19. We have to show that we also have leadership strengths. And one of the things also that the young people need to understand is how powerful they are. There is no government in Africa that can win an election without the youth. That is very, very clear. And a lot of times why they put the youth aside is because they realize how powerful we are, and that if we actually make it to the ballot box, we can shift a lot. This is the time to really make our presence be felt and known. And this is actually the right time for the youth as they give solutions to negotiate.
Right. Mochere, I'm sure you're still here with us. I want to read your mind on what you think about what Cynthia just mentioned there. We need to have our foot in there so that we are able to permanently now be on the table and not just as participants or recipients of what is discussed on that table, but as active participants in actually deciding what is decided upon. Because I've heard people say that nothing for us without us as young people. So as a young person, Victor, what do you think young people of Kenya need for them to really be able to put their foot in this particular issue and other national issues and actively participate in solving them? What do you think we need as young people in Kenya?
First, I want to address the issue of people in power. Those are the people who hold the strings. Those are people who should also come up with ways in which to ensure that the youth are incorporated into decision making. These are people who now hold the key to appointments. Yeah, like for instance, when you see the government appointing old people as old as Muda Warren is 1993 now. Yeah, to do a job that a young person can do. So I think the government can do more to prepare the youth, to mentor the youth. Yeah, to give the youth that exposure so that when they take up the mantles of leadership tomorrow, they are well prepared for that. But for young people, I think we can do more. We should not wait until we are spoon-fed. Yeah, we can go out there, we can be innovative, we can be creative, and we can come up with ideas, we can sell those ideas. But in terms of making decisions, sit on the table, the government has to allow, yeah, the policies that they come up with should be able to incorporate the youth. They should be able to give the youth an upper hand, because these are the people who are majority in number, and these are the people who will be there tomorrow to take up from where these older people live. Yeah.
there's been an argument, Victor, that within our spaces there's more we can do, and within your space as a blogger and a social media influencer, let's try to talk a bit about that. What do you think you are already doing, or what do you think is a space available for you during these times? Because some people have even argued and said maybe you are the people who should be able to, push for accountability, but by giving us the right figures when it is about the figures, or also passing this information and influencing good behavior during this period. Do you think that, there's been a failure on that end from bloggers, from influencers?
Yeah, I think every person has a role to play. Yeah, on my part, I can see that I'm informing. I'm trying as much as possible to relay much information out there. But each person, each youth, each young person has a role to play. And you cannot depend on one person to come and tell you this is what you're supposed to do, this is what is not supposed to do, or these are the opportunities that you need to explore. Each person, young people have access to materials, the internet that they can use to find opportunities, to make their voices heard. So as a blogger and a social media influencer, I'm doing my part, yeah? But that's not enough. Each person needs to do their part. You should not be like this kind of ignorant, yeah? You have to wait until you're told what to do. You have to wait until opportunities are open for you, yeah? So I think we can do much more with the info, with the materials that we have, with the access of the internet, yeah? People are working from home using the internet. People are exploring opportunities using the internet. People are making money from the internet. So you can do more. You just need to identify your area, yeah, what you're passionate about, and pursue it. Yeah, don't wait to be told this is what to do. This is an opportunity. This is the job that we need you to come on board. Take that opportunity and pursue it to the end.
Right. Kwame, I think I want to bring you at this particular point because here in Kenya, of course, there's been a backlash of some sort when this call was made by the cabinet secretary, that is the Minister of Health, to actually tell the young people that actually they stand to lose more if this virus continues to spread. Tell me about how in Ghana young people are actually being involved by their governments, or whether if the situation is the same right there, just as it is here in Kenya.
So to be honest, I think that in Ghana, there has not been so much of a direct call. Much of the call that was made to young people was to encourage them to stay home. It was to encourage them to social distance, because at the point, the information that was coming out presupposed that older people were more vulnerable and more likely to die. And so a lot of young people were beginning to take that information and they were not really protecting themselves or staying home. And so it needed to be drummed down into the ears of young people, especially here in Ghana. The guys, you're not invincible, you can be affected and it can kill you. And so that has been the trajectory really. To ask young people. So all the schools, of course, were closed down. We are in a partial lockdown. No schools, no churches, no social gatherings above 25 or 50. And that was the call to young people. But of course, I have seen, because of also the role that I play in the digital space and in the innovation space amongst young people in this country, I've seen different interventions by different government agencies and, of course, different hubs. I'm sure that the Innovation Village would probably understand this more. I think 2 days ago there was one of those innovation hubs. It's called the Hack Lab Foundation. They launched a portal for everybody who was creating an innovative solution towards the battling of the COVID-19, bringing all of them together in a community and helping them to exchange open source codes, exchange ideas. If you're doing campaigns, how can we extend your media reach? If you're building, if you're looking at vaccines, or you're looking at ways that we can curb and level up the curve. So I know that within the innovation space, there's a lot of directed initiatives being done by young people. The government has done a great job in Ghana with some of the decisions they've taken. But I think that we both and everybody on here would understand that there's always a friction between policymakers and young people. And so just to wrap up this point, I will want to say to both Cynthia and Victor that both of you have valid points. I'll say to Cynthia that let us not overlook what Victor is saying, because for far too long, our policymakers and the older generation have neglected young people in decision making, in providing the right infrastructure, the right environments. Ask our panelists who's living Innovation Village in Uganda, what are the government resources available for acquiring loans or startup capital, patient capital for them to build the innovations they have? It is non-existent. So this is an opportunity for us to address it. And so what Victor is saying and young people's anger is very much legit and valid, and we need to recognize that. Victor, I will say to you, what Cynthia is saying is also very important. Yes, we've been neglected. Yes, they pushed us to the curb, but this crisis gives us a great opportunity to show them how valuable we can be. For once, we don't need to talk. We don't need to complain. We can actually solve a problem and prove to the older generation and to politicians and to policymakers that we can bring something tangible to the table. So the call should be a call of let's take an advantage of this crisis. Let's not complain. They now see the need for us. Let's take advantage of this opportunity. So I think both cases are valid, and we need to respect both ideas and be able to utilize. But ultimately, just like Cynthia has said, even if you don't have the Cynthia kind of money to mobilize a campaign, there's something you can do as a young person in your individual community, in your individual scope and household to help us curb this COVID-19. Get involved. Let's not sit on the couch and eat popcorn. Let's not be on TikTok all day. Let's get into solving some real tangible problems in everybody's idiosyncratic and unique way of being able to contribute.
Perfect. Cynthia, I think one of the things that I'm picking from this conversation, even for those who are actually tweeting us right now, there's Paul L. Graffy, who's actually saying everyone has a role to play in the fight against COVID-19. Top Secret says that according to CS, who are youth? You might be shouting there, Nakumbe, you don't fit in the bracket. I can see people who are called youth in the government. But the conversation or the tweet that is actually coming here is that from a guy called Kenzo SK. He says, welcome to Kenya, where old people are being employed, but youth are being asked to volunteer. Something is not adding up. Picking from that particular tweet, as you said earlier on, that this COVID-19 could be one of those things that will be able to actually bring equality, which actually was argued against by Kwame. Do you think this is the time also for governments to actually find out what exactly young people want for them to really participate in such scenarios, so that it is not at the late stage that they are involved in such things? What do you think governments should be learning from the reaction of young people when they were called upon to join in this particular fight of COVID-19?
Well, I'm hoping that governments are learning lessons. Unfortunately, I think they have a lot of problems, and sometimes as a government you have to prioritize the problems that you have as a country. So they're trying to go through different sorts of problems and receiving reports almost every day about, their citizens who are unwell and dying. And we know that even from the reaction and how some governments have come up with some laws, it is obvious that some governments are broke. And that is why I think more than ever that the youth have the right solutions. Like I spoke about the campaign I haven't spent even $500 on it. I think it's around, I haven't even gone beyond $50. Everything that we're doing is on social media. And that's why, again, I say that we have the solutions. We have a cheaper solution when it comes to educating people. The other thing I have to say is, yes, we have, and I've seen it, that there's been a call, like, for example, in Kenya, and I've worked in the Kenyan government and in the Ugandan government, and both of them, there's a call of always, we're bringing in the youth, and then when you see the people who've been brought in by the government, they're much older, they can be my father and my uncles. But I think we need to understand the problem even as we complain about it. Why is the older youth being put into government? They're being put into government because they have something that they can bring to the table. This is somebody who, whoever is being put in government, can probably bring in votes from their area. There's something that they're bringing to the table. And that is why I'm saying this is the time for the youth to really prove they can bring something to the table. And I'll give a simple example. How I started working for governments and working on their campaign trail, I was never offered the job. I simply went for a certain meeting somewhere and I volunteered my services. I gave my thoughts. And people were like, these are fresh ideas. We had never thought of doing it that way. I didn't go there demanding for a pay or anything. And then once I got one leg inside, then you also now begin to understand how governments work and how they think. To be very honest, when you're from the outside, it looks like they make all the wrong decisions and weird decisions. But once you get in there, then you begin to understand how they think, and then you understand better how to negotiate. And that's why I'm pushing that, put one leg in. This campaign that I'm starting, I've spent, as I said, less than $50. And most of the people I'm working with are volunteering. Most of us were just volunteering. But already people have started talking to me and asking me, what is my budget? How can they fund it? I did it first without any funding, and now there are people who are seeing how powerful it is. And it's the youth who have made it powerful because they're sharing it on their social media pages. And it's the youth who've made it powerful, so now the older generation wants to join and put money into it.
Eugene, can I jump in?
Right. That's very interesting indeed. But yes, I was just going to bring you in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm getting what Cindy is saying, that we can harness, yes, the power of the internet, we can be creative, that kind of sort, yeah. But not every youth, because we are talking about a majority, yeah, we are many, the youth, yeah. So you cannot say that every person can be a blogger, every person can be a YouTuber, every person can do that. We need also that person, that border guy, yeah. So how do you expect this person, yeah, to use kind of the internet to also make some kind of, I don't know what, to be creative in that way? Not every person can be creative, as you say. And also the government, also the message the government is communicating is that we need volunteers, yeah. That I think the government is missing the point here. Instead of asking for volunteers as the youth, you should be asking about the youth to step up. There are many things, there are many roles that the youth can play, yeah. From educating, from passing that information, from also ensuring that the communications or the kind of posts they make on social media are factual and verifiable. There are many roles the youth can play, yeah. But asking them to come and volunteer, yeah, I don't think how that plays in. And also consider about what these people are doing, yeah. A person as a stall maybe in Gikomba, you're telling that person to come and leave that job also to come and do what? Yeah, start to maybe into another career. You're talking about maybe a person who has maybe a kiosk somewhere. You want that person to leave that investment, yeah, and come and start being innovative on the internet. It doesn't work that way. Every person has a role to play, yes, yeah. But as much as we talking about the internet and all that kind of stuff, not every person can fit in. If we talk about every youth becoming maybe a blogger, then the other areas, the other sectors of the economy will be on standstill, yeah.
So Victor, if I was to pull you and put you, if I had the powers to pull you and put you on the seat that the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Mutahi Kagwe, is in, and you are giving that particular presser, what is it that you would have said that is probably different and would have still had an impact when it comes to young people's involvement in dealing with COVID-19?
Yeah, I will call upon the youth to be more kind of creative in what they are doing. Yeah, like you can also do this kind of, just make a contribution, masks, kind of creating this water tanks or kind of that. Those don't require that specialization or kind of special kind of training to do that. So I will call upon the youth to take also this kind of roles, also to contribute something, but not to volunteer. Yeah, we're talking about the youth in Kenya today are some sort of marginalized kind of group. So you cannot ask them to come and volunteer, yet at the same time you expect this person, yeah, to go and feed their family, to pay rent, to pay even help, yeah, to settle their bills. Volunteer is a word, because you're talking about this person coming and working for you or doing some kind of services for free. It doesn't work that way. So I think the CS should even apologize for that.
Eugene, I have a...
Perfect. Samantha, we're going to take a break, but before we go, I want to hear your voice, kidogo. Yes, exactly, Samantha. But as you add on, please also add your thoughts on what more can be done other than just using or leveraging on the power of internet. What more can we do for those who can't be able to be on social media and they're young people? What more can they do? Maybe as you add on to your voice on this.
Yes. So to merge both Kwame and Victor's responses. So what I feel like government should add onto their list to do is, if they do not understand how to work for innovations, who can they leverage? So Kwame mentioned there are different innovation hubs, right, that work with innovators that have solutions. Now, these solutions are not just about a smartphone. When you say digital, it means if you have a phone, it does not have to be a smartphone, it just has to be a phone. Something that solutions are doing is telemedicine, right? Is having doctors come together and being able to go to and provide their services to a household, right? Because now the social distancing, there's lockdown, individuals can't move. And there are already solutions that can enable people receive healthcare, right? Today I was watching a young man lost his son because we're not allowed to drive, right? Not allowed to if you're border, but you have to be carrying goods, right? So he had to walk, but unfortunately it was too late. However, there is a solution that, yes, is in the city, but it's a telemedicine solution. So how can that be supported to the different regions? When we go to agricultural productivity, so everyone is thinking, food supplies, how are we going to enable farmers get their inputs to enable productivity to continue? They are agricultural startups and businesses that enable farmers to still receive inputs, a license to still travel in this period. So how can the, should I say, government or even any other partners that have the power to enable remote areas understand that if you have challenges with inputs, if you have challenges in not getting agricultural inputs, this is how we can link you to these startups that are already doing something. So not everything is, techie smartphone. These are solutions, and when we talk digital, it's not just about an app. It's not just about,
All right. I want us to take a very short break right now. And of course, as we take the break, let me quickly just go through some of the live feedback that we are receiving from our YouTube live stream. One of them is from Fiona Luswata, who actually says, excited to listen in. We also have Brian Mutanda, who says that he's watching live from Mgongeni in Mombasa County. Thank you very much. We also have Paul Mwirigi who says, thank you for the insights. There's also James Omonding who says, great ideas, watching live from Jinja in Uganda. There's also Kenneth Legacy who says, watching from Kampala, Uganda. Thank you, Kenneth, for joining us. There's Arinda Kevin who says, watching from Jinja, Uganda. Thanks for the amazing insights. Then there is also Olga Kikonko, who actually says, looking forward to listening more about the initiatives the youth are working on to address the pandemic and its aftermath in Africa. There is also Glo Kayanga, who says, whether late or not late, our involvement as the youth is for the season. It's rather great that it's happening. So as Olga says, up there, eager to learn about the initiatives moving forward. And then there is Dylan who says, he's actually clapping there. And then there is Stay Home who says, greetings from Tanzania. Thank you so much for those comments that are coming through. There is also Brian Koske on Twitter via the hashtag Youth Connect. He says, the government has to play part also, not just volunteering. He goes ahead to also say that it's not about the healthier sentiments, it's about our mindset as the youth. We have the capability to solve this pandemic, and the government has seen that in us. It is high time we stop being selfish and step up in combating COVID-19 together. Keep those comments coming. We're taking our very final break right here. When we come back, we move the conversation forward and we'll be able to ask ourselves, where do we go from here? Keep those comments coming through hashtag Youth Connect, and we'll be able to sample them in the course of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you so much for still being with us. We're coming to you live from my home, and Asanteni Sana for joining us right here. It is a special edition of Working From Home, a Youth Connect edition, and my name as always is Eugene Anangwe. Our sign language interpreter is none other than Josephine Ouko, doing a very great job right there. I'm seeing your tweets, they're still coming through. Hashtag is Youth Connect. Keep them coming. I see also the comments on our live stream on YouTube. I have Brian national issues. For the break, the this and more, but of course we are back right now. We're talking about what needs to be done to have young people fully involved in fighting COVID-19 and why the backlash among young people when it comes to this call that was made by the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Mutahi Kagwe. Now, before we bring in our panelists, we have tweets that have been coming through. We have Preacher Kid 254 says, "You and me, let's come together and fight this virus. If leaked sex tapes can bring us together within minutes, why should we come together this time and do awareness and protect our future generations?" That is what he actually says. And also joining us right now is Omolo, who's joining us via way of Skype. He had actually requested to be part of this conversation to give his thoughts on this particular issue. Omolo, what brings you to the program? What do you want to say? What is your comment on this particular discussion that we have tonight? Yes, Omolo, we're asking what is your comment that you want to share with us tonight? You've joined the conversation to share your thoughts on the topic tonight. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. I just want to share my sentiments concerning what the CS for Health said about the youth involvement in the fight against the COVID-19. We have a scenario in Oma Bay. We have initiated what we call free deliveries. I think one thing I want to put forth is that it's our responsibility as the youth let's not look at the government not involving the youth fully in governance or social aspects in our country. But the most important thing that this epidemic, and let's come up together as youth and help our people. In Homa Bay, what we are doing, through volunteer, we have come up with an initiative whereby we are using border borders to deliver food for free for the elderly. This aspect enables our mamas and grandparents to stay at home. When they need something, the only thing they need to do is to let us know of what they want, and we are able to deliver these items to them free of charge. This is one way whereby, as the youth, we get involved in helping our society. This is our country. So irrespective of our involvement in the governance, I think when we are faced with such a disease that is sweeping the whole world, let's not look at that. Let's prove to the world that irrespective of not being involved, we are able as the youth to help our country. I think this is my sentiment I wanted to share.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, and all the best to your team. And we hope that you'll be able to pull in others to be able to deliver this. However, let's go to Cynthia. Cynthia, I mean, you've heard what Omolo is doing with his group of young people in Homa Bay. How then do we cushion such people? Because I'm sure volunteering and fixing what they are doing requires some resources. How do we support such people? What needs to be done so that such people get support to be able to deliver what they are doing?
Well, at this time, there have been calls asking the government to support, and to be very honest, I think governments, especially in Africa, had more time to plan for COVID-19. We knew about COVID-19 in December when we had reports from China. That is when governments should have started planning. That is when governments should have started actually calling on the youth to come up with ideas and to come up with solutions. But unfortunately, that did not happen. And to be very honest, it's only, I think, one country, I think Uganda, that I have seen where there is complete lockdown and the government is providing food to the people. But in Kenya, we haven't seen that coming. As a business owner, we've been hoping that there will be talks even of a stimulus plan, but we haven't seen any of that coming. But because I understand that also as a business person that there has to be life after COVID-19, and I still want my business to stand. To be honest, I run a PR company and events company. The day, I think it was on March 12th, the government announced and said we can no longer have public meetings. All my events and my jobs were cancelled on that day. So you get to a point where you're almost making 0 shillings. So even the work that I'm doing right now, campaigning, I'm doing it using my own money. And I'm working, yes, with a few young people. I know they're in school. I have some students from Strathmore. So that I will take care of their costs. But because I'm still interested in in Africa, I still want to do business in Africa, then it calls upon me to use my own resources. Because even right now, if I go to the government and say, could you please help me out? The government will tell me they probably are spending their resources right now in hospitals, in the healthcare system. Another thing that we've been seeing, and we haven't probably talked about it, is that governments now in Africa are making a call that all governments need to come, actually the last 2 days, all governments need to come together and find a solution for COVID-19. And that's where, again, the youth need to ask themselves, how then, when governments come and sit together, and I saw even, like, for example, President Uhuru Kenyatta and various African presidents having a Zoom call with IGAD. So if you're a young person, you already know that it seems like some of our governments have put their resources in something else, and they're now talking to IGAD to come up with a solution for Africa. So maybe some of the things that projects we're coming up with right now, as you're working on them and using volunteering at the moment, then what we can do is to begin speaking to IGAD. We have to open our eyes to what is going on. We have to be realistic so that we can come up with realistic solutions. And as I'm speaking, yes, I know I can see some people are nodding, but I'm speaking out of my experience. I cannot. I would love it if I had a government that would say, we know, Cynthia, you had to shut down your business. Here is some money for your business. But that's the reality is my Kenyan government is not likely to tell me that. So then I have to open up my eyes to look at giving a solution and then how to find funding halfway. Even the solutions that we have right now for the campaign, part of it, yes, is going to be on social media, but we are hoping to take 360 communication plan. I can't afford it right now, but I eventually, some of the people I'm going to talk to are probably, for example, IGAD. I've already started talking to IGAD and already showing them what I have done with the little resources that I have, and then request for funding. WHO also, but a lot of times they fund directly to governments. But it's about time for us also, businesses are looking on how to be a bit more innovative. Even for us, we have to find different solutions to fund our businesses, to fund some of the projects that we have, because the reality on the ground is I don't see, to be very honest, even my own government funding me at this time. In fact, if you look at even, for example, PRSK is working with the Kenyan government. They're the ones who've been working a lot with the health ministry. They're offering their services free of charge. Nobody is paying them. So definitely, even as youth, it might be a bit difficult if the youth go to the government and say, you need to pay us for this, yet everyone around them is giving them services for free. Another place where there might be an opportunity is, I saw that the government has called the private sector to help with what is going on in Kenya. And there's a board that the government named. It has just members from the private sector. I think, and a lot of them, I saw it was CEOs of banks like Absa, Equity Bank. That is where right now there are opportunities to get funding. If right now you go to, for example, Equity and let them know, I have this solution, they obviously have more funding to let go than the government, then those are some of the people we should be talking to right now. We need to understand the problem, understand the opportunities that are there, understand really at this time who has the money to fund us by reading news, by collecting facts, and having, when we have our facts right, therein we will definitely find solutions. So for example, that is where I'm looking for funding for the projects that I have at the moment.
Yeah. Perfect. Samantha, I'm going to bring you in just to give you closing remarks as well. But before I come to you, Samantha, I want to talk to Victor. Victor, we've heard from Omolo, and Omolo is actually working with young people to actually offer solutions here. We've heard about those people who are actually doing something within their small means or whatever they're able to get. Victor, the CS mentioned, and actually not Omolo, Apollo rather. Apollo, thank you so much for that correction. Victor, the CS actually give out advice, did come out to actually use the little that they had during that time to fight for the independence of this country. Victor, do you think that those young people who are saying, no, right now you don't call us to volunteer, are actually not being sensitive to the situation that we are faced with today?
Not actually being insensitive, because you can only volunteer. Even when a person you come out to do something, you can only do something to your the means that you have, up to the limit that you can do. So every person, every young person can step up, can contribute, can chip in, yes. But this aspect of volunteering, if you are able to do that, yes, you can do that. But in terms of stepping up, every young person, every person, even old people can also chip in, can also help educate others. So now maybe to do something, sanitize or kind of clean even gadgets or their houses, so we can do something. But the effect of volunteering, living, because these are people who hustle. A person like a freelancer, a person like a boda person, a person like what's a stall or kind of mama mboga, I'm talking about these people down here. These people who get that 20 bob, that 50 bob in order to feed their families, cannot just leave that what they're doing to come and start volunteering or being engaged in something that will not generate something. Yet these are people who live from hand to mouth. The government that we have in Kenya today is a very ignorant government. We had, and I agree with Cynthia, they had time to prepare for this. They had time to educate people. They had time to even these doctors, these qualified doctors and nurses who are at home now, they had time to ensure that we have equipments, we have enough sanitizers, we have masks and all that. But they were kind of playing some kind of hide and seek kind of game. And yet we see, when you tell the youth to be like more sensitive about the situation we are in. Talk about Gary, the guy who took a video of that Chinese plane. What happened to that guy? He was fired from his job, and was branded a criminal by his own government. And yet these are the same people you want them to come and volunteer to be sensitive about the situation, yet you have been stamping on them. Also, before you come up to the last option of the youth volunteering, have you explored the options that you have on the table? Talk about, I've talked about those nurses, doctors at home. We have even nurses outside the country. Personally, I have a sister who's in India now, unable to come back because of the lockdown in India and also the suspension of international flights here. These are qualified professional nurses who can come and also help. And she's not alone. In India, there are also others from different institutions. The government is in this situation. They can bring them in and they can contribute to do something. Because professionals, they're trained that way. So before you speak about the youth, are not professionals in that field, what do you expect to come and do? Sing hallelujah? No. So we have a government that I don't know, it was playing some kind of ignorant kind of I don't know, game kind of thing. We are in a situation that requires us to step up, but volunteering, you need also to be mindful of those people who have nothing.
Right.
These youths who need their daily job, the casual kind of laborers need that shilling they get in order to feed their family, in order to pay rent, in order to pay the bills and all that. So we can step up, but the government should not require us to volunteer as a mandatory requirement.
Right. So it's not supposed to be a mandatory thing. Samantha, your thoughts, your closing remarks on this, because we're here talking about, Cynthia has mentioned how even for herself, she's actually having to dig deeper in her own pocket, not knowing when the next coin will come to be able to facilitate her operations. We have young people who do not even have that particular job, but they would like to participate. They would like to do something. Are we being insensitive to these people, this kind of people, or what should we be able to do so that we are not leaving anyone behind that really wants to do something, but they are probably limited in resources?
So the platforms that the youth can use to have their voices heard and the impact felt. Examples again like the Innovation Village and the Call for Solutions tackling the challenges. and trying to get them to partner with organizations that can scale them. Currently, we're in a pipeline with the 97 Fund, which distributes opportunities to ideas, solving some of the most pressing challenges as it is right now. And what the 97 Fund is doing is that they're providing a COVID relief fund which supports businesses that are being able to provide employment opportunities during this time, especially to youth and women, and across different sectors, so e-commerce, health, agriculture, education. So that's something that was brought in the 97 Fund, and not looking at, is government going to listen? No, but how can we take action ourselves? There are also other platforms like how can the youth keep on getting engaged? We have one Upskill which provides relevant skill set training for youth, and has currently transitioned their training online, and not just providing the skill sets, but now they're actively promoting employment opportunities for digital marketers. Other platforms that I know are doing something are UNESCO in partnership with the Innovation for Policy Foundation, who are looking for local creative content to inform communities across Africa about COVID. So if you're somebody that is really good at graphic design and content creation, you can be able to leverage that platform to get to use this creative content to actually reach last mile. So again, there are different platforms that are taking shape that the youth can come and leverage and have their voices be heard.
Right. Cynthia, do you think the youth will rise to the occasion? I mean, we've spoken for over an hour and 30 minutes. Do you think young people, especially those who've been reluctant, those who've been saying that no, I think it is not in our place to jump in on this one, do you think young people are going to rise to the occasion?
I think the ones who are leaders are going to rise to the occasion. And I have to say, for me, what I decided to do, I have to be honest, I am very disappointed, very angry, for example, that my government did not start planning for this since February, and instead they were running a certain campaign. I'm very angry. I'm making losses. You have to make now a decision between letting your staff go, who are sometimes like your family. I'm angry. However, I want to create a different kind of Africa for myself. And I have to rise then to the occasion. If I wanted, I would have fired everyone and told them you can see how things are so bad and stayed home and cried about this thing. But I want to create a different kind of Africa. Number one, what I'm doing is I have a show every evening, like tomorrow on my IGTV, I'm talking about SMEs and how I'm bringing in a specialist to talk about how we can survive and giving people tools, how their businesses can survive during this time. And I've decided to, since my government is not helping me, I'm going to help myself and I'm going to help my Africa and the rest of the young people. Any young person who wants to find out how their business can survive, they can watch the show tomorrow. It's free. All you need is to have internet, and we are on Monday to Friday. The second thing that I've decided to do is to show the youth how powerful we are by then coming with a slogan called Africa will overcome. And what I'm doing is using resources that we can bring together as youth. Some are volunteers, and some of them I'm giving them money again out of my pocket. And I think that is what leaders do. During difficult times like now, they rise above all the noise and come up with solutions. And I strongly believe the youth in Africa will rise up. Any leader, if you know, and I wanted to give up, but I said, no, I'm a leader. And in all my shows, I've been saying, I'm a leader, you're a leader. We must come up with solutions. And there's going to be a shift in governments. And we have to make sure we are then seated at those tables to push that shift that must happen. And one of the things I like about even the youth right now who are talking about the challenges they're going through, we should allow them to talk about it. And I don't mind people saying, no, we don't like what the minister said. Allow people to express themselves and say what they're feeling. And then from there, allow them also to come up with solutions. And I'm saying again, power is never given, it is taken. We as the youth will take up that space. I've decided that my government can't block me from Facebook, it can't block me from social media. I will take up that space. Once I've really proved myself, I will then talk to institutions where I can then get the money to go to the phase 2 of my campaign, which requires much more money, say, for example, airtime on TV and radio and so on. But until then, as a leader, I can't stop thinking. We can't stop thinking. We have to continue thinking. We have to save Africa. I am doing this for Africa. When I see a Ghanaian who is unwell and is dying, it pains me. We are one. We must come together and find a solution as leaders of Africa.
Right. Perfect. What a best way to actually end this particular conversation. I'm told that we have overrun by about 9 minutes or so, but I want to say thank you for actually making time to be part of this conversation. In absentia, we had Kwame, who's actually not online right now. He had to actually excuse himself for some personal issues. He's actually ECOWAS Youth Ambassador. He was joining us all the way from Accra, Ghana. Cynthia Nyamai, MDCN Communications, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. Samantha Nyonsaba, all the way in Kampala, Uganda, and she is with the Innovation Village. Thank you also for being a part of this conversation. Victor, asante sana for being a part of this conversation, and Apollo, who joined us as part of the viewers who are watching and wanted to participate in this conversation. We want to say thank you for making time for us. To the entire team that actually made this conversation a success, thank you for being a part of the show. Georges and the entire team that is also here at home. I'm sure after this we have some chai moto to take, and of course all those who are online, thank you for participating in this conversation. It's the beginning of many other conversations that we'll be having right here from home, and we want to welcome you and see you again next time, same place. Let's keep talking. Hashtag is Youth Connect. We'll see you again next time. Thank you, Josephine Owuko, as well, for the sign language interpretation. For now, it's time to actually go and have dinner. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of the show. Goodbye for now.